Good morning and welcome to Behind the Screen. I am JM, and this is a show where we hang out, we talk about games, primarily role-playing games, primarily things that are beautiful and inspire us to be better game masters, better people, better humans to each other. Good morning to Tink, as you get comment number 1. So today we're talking about something, and it's a little bit of a preamble here. I prep games weirdly, or so I thought. I didn't really have a way to describe it, but I did a lot of prep beforehand. I read the rule books, I read the world books and the setting guides, or I would write my own setting guides. I would come up with the NPCs and the factions and the plot threads and the mysteries. But all of that was before we even had session 1, let alone session 0. And what I discovered is I didn't really do a lot of prep work afterwards. Like I maintained the consequence list, which if you remember the consequence list, that's where that's from. And if not, we'll put a link in the show notes back to that episode. So once the game got started, I didn't really do a lot of prep. I would do spot prep in the moments, like, oh, I need to make sure I have this monster prepared, or, oh, the group is going this way. What do I know? But my goal was always to know the world so well that I could react in the moment to what was going on. And to do that, I had a lot of material in the background. But what's different about the stuff I had in the background is I never plotted out stories. Let me say hello to Padre and to, Chris. Hey, man. Sorry that you are full of the crud, but I'm very glad that you are here as well. I never planned stories. I never went into a game and said, I have. Let me rephrase that. I have run very narrative-heavy campaigns. But over the course of my GMing career, I tend to be far more of a sandbox player. I tend to be GM, and I tend to be far more of an emergent storyteller. I want the story to feel alive, to feel the world to feel alive, that like the player's choices, for good or ill, have weight, have meaning, and actually can affect the campaign world. It's good that you're here, Chris, because the example that I was going to use involves you. I created the world of Tanar. I created 7 ages of the world. I created all the factions and the political figures and the organizations and the prophecies and the lore. And in the very first adventure, in the very first session of the campaign, my buddy Christopher, they were in this vampire lord's mansion, and they had snuck in. They were trying to recover a book because there were some prophecies that a dragon, the great dragon emperor of the 5th age, was going to return, Zenhir. And they found the book that had the ways to reseal Zenhir's tomb. And my goal with this initial story was just to be like, look, the world is old, the world is ancient. There are all of these things and powers from the old worlds that have come to the head. And Christopher destroyed the book by accident, and then destroyed a bunch of other books to cover his tracks, which is still just the most amazing little addendum to the story. It's not that you're going to live this down, Christopher. That one choice drove nearly 15 years of story in Tanar. That was amazing. And it's because I don't craft plots. I craft problems. I craft little interesting nuggets for the GMs to interact with. Good morning, Ross. Or for the players to interact with. And I never had a good idea of what to call this. And I watched a great video recently where the guy was describing Brennan Lee Mulligan's technique, and he called it the Toybox method. And I really like that. And his explanation was great. And I will find that video, and I'll also put it in the show notes, because as a scholar, I believe in citing my sources. But the idea is that when a toy manufacturer comes up with a cool toy, they have no clue how a child is actually going to play with it. It's not like Tonka makes a truck and says, oh, this is a dump truck, so you could only play construction with it. They don't know whether the kid is going to pick up the toy one day and use it as a scooter or a pair of roller skates, or pretend it's a transformer or a robot, or repaint it, or do anything besides play with it specifically as a dump truck on a construction site. And that was his point. That as GMs, one of the ways we can become flexible, one of the ways we can encourage improvisation and emergent story play is by crafting toys like a toy maker would do. And so that resonated with me because that's what I do. I come up with, I remember we were playing, I don't remember whether it was Pathfinder 2. They were playing Pathfinder 2, and somebody at the table remarked, was like, oh man, another NPC that probably has an amazing backstory, but if we talk to them, it's going to send us off in a completely different direction. We have to stay focused. And that was the goal that I wanted. I wanted player-driven narratives and player-driven experiences. And so what a toy is, as we're going to define it, we're actually going to do 3 or 4 episodes on this, including making some toys for you guys to use in your games and kind of see how I use them. But the goal is, a toy is a discrete, small, really interesting component to your game world that you can put in at any time when you need it. So, like, for example, in New Helios City, I have a pizza place called Leo's Pizza. And really, you want 3 things. You want a brief description. You want any role-playing cues that you need to know. And then you want maybe some hooks or some possible ways that you see the way it could be dropped in, or some secrets for the players to engage with if they end up liking this toy. But the great thing about the toy is if a player doesn't pick up the toy, it goes back in the toy box and you can reskin it again, and it's ready to be pulled out and played with in the future. So, for example, Leo's Pizza is a pizza place that is just this small local pizza place that, for whatever reason, and I have several reasons that are possible, villains and gangs treat it as neutral ground. So if I need a safe spot in the middle of my game, I can drop Leo's Pizza in there. And already, hopefully, with me, for you, the secrets are kind of popping up. Well, who is Leo? How does he have this neutral space? What happened? Is he altruistic? Is he not? I don't need to answer any of those questions. I may write down a couple of ideas that, if he's good, maybe this is the reason. If he's bad, maybe this is the reason. But the idea is that this location and this NPC are sort of in a quantum state of limbo until I lock it in to the campaign setting, usually because of a player interaction. A player goes, I like this thing. I want to come back to it. I want to pick up this toy and play with it more. Excellent. Yes, Padre, Peg's plot point framework allows a little bit more flexibility in this as well. Yes, Tink, it does allow you to stockpile characters and places, and that's the great thing. You create one document, whether it's a journal, separating it out by NPCs, magical items, adventure ideas and locations. And again, you're talking 4 or 5 lines per thing, just enough for you to be able to come back and go, why did I think this was cool when I wrote it? Awesome. And you can just pull it out and toss it in. Maybe I don't even need Leo's Pizza to start. Maybe the players are looking for somebody in the neighborhood to talk to about a crime that went down. Well, I already have Leo set up. I can pull 2 or 3 NPCs and go, well, you guys know that this one guy runs the pizza place, whereas he's got his ear to the ground. And there's this lady who runs what seems to be maybe an herb crystal store, kind of new agey, but people are thinking that maybe she's got some ties to the magical community. And the best part about toys are, 1, you have a lot of fun making it. These are the things that we enjoy doing as a GM. Going back to that Tanar thing, all I had was, wouldn't it be cool if there was a prophecy about a Dragon Emperor coming back, and maybe the players can just seal it off. They just got to get the book, go do the ritual. That's a cool, short, encapsulated adventure. And my players bit on that. And I had it ready to go. And the difference here is the reason that the most important part of the toy box is to keep things discreet. And by that, I mean small, self-contained, an NPC with a description, role-playing hints, and a couple of secrets. A location with something interesting, a description, and a couple of secrets. A plot that is a small adventure idea that can be used as both a rumor and a hook. Keep them small, because the reason it's important to keep them small and discreet is the more you plan one thing, the more you embellish it, the more you draw it out, the more you add to it, the more pages of lore and loving crafting that you put onto your toys, the more likely it is you're going to pick it up and slam it against your player's face until they choose to pick it up, because either they're so bloody they're tired of being battered by it, or they're like, oh, this is obviously the GM's new favorite thing. Let's engage with it. The more planning we put into something, the easier it is to want to give into that temptation to force the players down the path that you want them to go. Scatter a bunch of toys in your environment every session, see what the players pick up and run with. In my Draw Steel game, we had an opening adventure that was two opening adventures that I love smashed together. A 0-level adventure for Shadow of the Demon Lord called The Apples of Ableton, and the Swallowtail Festival from Rise of the Rune Lords. And the players got into town, they had a lot of things to do, and they chose the things that they want. But I just, again, had these little discrete toys that I scattered about the place. And what's great about that is when the players pick a toy up and they want to play with it, you as the GM can sit back and go, sweet, now this is something I want to develop because I know the players are engaged with it. I know they're going to want to keep engaging with this for right now because they're the ones who chose it out of all of the other toys in the chest. Padre says, I love this idea, and you can throw callbacks to a bunch of stuff earlier, the Great Culture, or in the game around 100%. Actually, Padre, from a lore perspective, that's great. Matt Koval had a great video on this, on making your lore engageable, as he would say. And I think I didn't mean to try and match his cadence, but I think I might have. And the goal there is make the lore something the player wants to pick up and use. So instead of giving them a lore dump, if you give them a spear that has a bunch of writing on it, and it's a magic spear, and the writing tells the story of the forging and using of the spear, which then ties into history of the world, that's cool because now they have a weapon that they've picked up and they want to use. And they're like, well, this is my weapon. Look what I know about this weapon. That makes lore engageable. Tink says it's also useful when players ask specific role-playing questions that you didn't plan for at all. Like, I hate tavern food. What else is in this town? Or who is this random guy? Right, no, 100%. Mark and I often talk about that. The mysterious stranger with golden skin, hourglass eyes, and a magical staff who's sitting there going, I need to talk to you, is often pushed aside because you said something in a funny voice with the blacksmith. And so now everybody loves the blacksmith and wants to know his life story. And if he has any quests or if they can help him or turn him into a long lost king and heir to the throne. Yeah. So like many things in game mastering, it's never one thing or another. It's never railroading versus sandbox. It's never zero prep versus prep the world. The happy medium is somewhere in the middle. You're going to find out what works for you. As I've grown older and learned more in game mastering, that slide has moved more towards the improv side, but I still like prepping. I love knowing the world. I love reading the books and going, this is cool. This needs to go into the game. And so what you're really doing is you're making an inspiration list, but you're doing it within a balance. You're saying, this is cool. Here are the 4 things I need to put in the toy, to make it a toy. that I can then pick up and run with it. And you may find that you only need 3 things. You may need 6 or 7 things. But the goal is you set a template, which we're going to talk about next time, and you stick to it as a way to prep these fun things for your players to encounter. So, oh man, Padre, have you ever read John Wick's Play Dirty? Specifically, his article on the return of, is it the return of Mr. Johnson? I have my Play Dirty books over here. I can find, if you haven't, and I can find the article, I will share it. Carter, Mr. Carter. I will, if I can find this, I will send this to you. It is one of the greatest. It is one of the greatest superhero stories on how to run a superhero game that I've ever read. And John Wick of Legend of the Five Rings, 7th Sea fame, ran this amazing Champions game and taught me a lot of things about how to. He called it play. No one wants to play with a killer GM, and no one wants to play with a GM who cheats. But everyone wants to play with a dirty GM, somebody who will pull out all the stops to make it as difficult as possible for you to cross that finish line. And he calls it the John McClane style of GMing, where everyone crosses the finish line, battered, bruised, bloodied, walking on broken glass with only 1 bullet left in their gun. But they get to see Hans Gruber fall from Nakatomi Tower. So that's it for today. We'll be back on Thursday, health willing, to do our opening play of Kara Nathalis. I'm so excited about that. And I just want to say thanks to everybody who shows up and hangs out, who's reading through Dungeon Crawler Carl, whether you love it or hate it. I appreciate you guys. I'm looking forward to doing book club next month. And then to Tink, who every time I have a stream puts the work in to make the cool-looking cards and then alert you guys on the Iconic channel for me. So thanks, Tink. I appreciate it. So until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, stay gaming. I'm JM. This has been Behind the Screen, and I will see you guys all later. Until then, have a good one, everybody.